with America's Mayor Live. And right now is a very exciting time between 8 and 9 o'clock as they get Biden ready uh, to come out and speak. Wouldn't you love to watch the preparations? I sort of have always had this image of like one of the not Frankenstein, Dracula movies, where he's in a casket all day, right? And now it's about time to get him out. So they're going to pump a little stuff into the casket. Boop, 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 boop. Then he's going to come out and he's going to grab blood from as many places as possible. And it'll be okay until about dawn. And then I'll have to go pop him back into the casket again. Something like that. But I think it's more, I think they're going to be using sort of obsessive compulsive medications and attention medications, but high dose ones. Now, this is not a guess. This is a little bit that I get from doctors that if they were going to treat him and they were going to try to get this demented fool, ready to give his State of the Union speech, they'd pump him up with really like super, let's call it super Ritalin, like 5 times the power of Ritalin. Like if a kid is on too much Ritalin, what happens? Well, they have to give him Ritalin. Then they got to give him something to calm down the Ritalin so that he doesn't go like crazy, like when he loses his temper. So you have to understand the BDSM-5, which I should have had right here with me. Maybe I'll get it during the intermission while it's going on. It gives you all of the symptoms of dementia, both mild, moderate, middle stage, and late stage. He's like they should have him in the nut house by now stage, including delusions. For example, when he said that he gave his uncle the long lost Purple Heart that his uncle won in some war. Now, the war changes. I don't think he said the Civil War yet, but he has said World War II. He has said Korea. Don't know if he said Vietnam, but the war changes. But what happened was when Joe was being sworn in as vice president of the United States with Prince Obama, his father came up to him and said, Uncle, forgotten the uncle's name. Let's say Uncle Jack. Uncle Jack won a Purple Heart in World War II or in the Korean War or in the Vietnam War or possibly in the Revolutionary War. How the hell do I know? So, but he never took it. He didn't feel he was entitled to it. He said so many men died and so many men did serious things. I don't know that you should get a medal just for being wounded. I always felt bad for Jack, father says. And Joe said, well, now that I'm here, meaning in the White House, working for Prince Obama, I'll get the records and we'll surprise him. So Joe, good boy, good Joe. Maybe a little stealing, but he's a good boy. And he searches around, he gets the records. And he organizes a nice ceremony in the White House with his father, his uncle, the whole family. And he gives him the Purple Heart, and he won't take it at first. But Uncle Jack listens to his now nephew, the vice president of the United States, Joseph Robinette Biden, and he pins it on him. Okay, that's Joe's story. Now, here are what are known as something very elusive in Joe's life. These things are called the facts. Okay, here are the facts. Joe's dad, who organized this, was dead for 5 years before Joe became vice president. So if he had this conversation with him during the inauguration for vice president, it was a supernatural conversation, kind of like the ones that our Mayor Adams has with God. And the other problem is, just in case that part was confusing, the Uncle Jack, was dead for 7 years before Joe got in the White House. So now we got him talking to two dead people. Another little problem. There's no record of Uncle Jack getting any award, much less the Purple Heart. So we don't know where Joe got this Purple Heart, nor is there a record in the White House of any ceremony for any Uncle Jack of any kind getting the Purple Heart from Joe Biden. So here are the problems. We're not going to say that Joe's lying. Oh, gosh, no. But I mean, Joe gave a man dead fully 7 years a Purple Heart that he had gotten 25 or 30 years earlier in the presence of another man who had been dead for 7 years. And he gave him an award that he never received, but he gave it to him. So when Joe was told all those facts, he didn't tell the story again for 4 weeks. And then he repeated it word for word. So now, and he repeated altogether about 3 or 4 times. And this is all this year. Because if we go back 4 years ago, there's a similar situation where Joe said when he was running for president of the United States and allegedly got elected, he said that he remembers, because he's got such a great memory, Franklin Roosevelt reading the funny papers on television. The problem with that is Franklin Roosevelt was dead for 3 years before there was any television. And there was somebody who did read the funny papers on radio when there was a strike, and that was my predecessor, Fiorello LaGuardia, not Franklin Roosevelt, but not on television, because LaGuardia died before there was television. So now what do we have here? Do we have a congenital, pathological, narcissistic, and pick any other word you want, liar, who is extraordinarily dumb because these are provable lies? You know, good liars tell lies, and at least you got to work and figure out that they're lying. Dumb liars tell you, I was first in my class, when I can go to Syracuse Law School and get the record and see that he was 4th from last in his class. So that's what you call a dumb liar. Or with these dead people stuff, is he becoming delusional because of his dementia? Has his dementia gone into the stage of delusion, which is a symptom of dementia? And remember, this is the same guy who, after he finishes the State of the Union speech tonight, is going to go back to the White House, and he's going to have that little button near him somewhere. And I hope they have some kind of control over if he pushes it, nothing happens. Because this would be a guy pushing a button where something happens, but he's got nothing here. So nothing here is going to press something there. And that is really dangerous for the existence of the world. So the real question is, how are they preparing him tonight? What are they doing? He's going to read it. We know that, right? It's even much, even really intelligent, normal, really bright presidents have to read the State of the Union speech. It's very, very rare. I don't know that I've ever seen a president give it totally extemporaneously. Trump went pretty far off script. Clinton went pretty far off script. Reagan always went off script. Reagan's teleprompter speeches were half teleprompter, half Reagan recreating the speech. But unlike the myth about Ronald Reagan, that he was a dumb actor, he was an extraordinarily talented writer. Better writer than all of his writers who like to take credit for his speeches. And if you doubt me about that, and please don't, because I wrote 3 speeches for him, read his letters to his wife, Nancy, which were not written by any of the speechwriters who take too much credit. Written by him. Written by him when he was overseas, written by him when he was in another traveling and and written by him on important occasions, and written by him explaining affairs of state, because he used her as an advisor quite significantly. So it isn't just like, dear sweet Nancy, I love you very much. It's also, there's a strike that's starting, and what do you think, and how should it be handled? And or we're having trouble at Berkeley. What's new, right? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. It's extremely well written. You'd be shocked. And then the stories that he tells it are quite creative. Large book, bestseller, sold a couple million copies. I would really recommend just reading it, and you have to read the whole. Just read a letter here and a letter there and a letter here and a letter there. You'll find it extraordinarily entertaining, and it'll dissuade you of the notion that this was some kind of inferior intellect. Just the opposite. It'll tell you, wow, boy, did they get this guy wrong. And what an advantage that must have been, being underestimated like that. And he would tell you, and his really good biographers tell you, it was one of his great advantages, being underestimated. Jimmy Carter was dying to run against him. He left Jimmy Carter so far behind, nobody even remembers what Jimmy Carter did anymore. But Jimmy Carter wanted to run against him. Oh, I want to run against that dumb actor. And he beat him first time out by pretty close to a landslide. And then he beat Mondale by every state except one, Mondale's home state. And he was unpopular with the press. Very, not quite like Trump, but for that day, it was the worst that it had. It started with Goldwater, and by the time it got to Reagan, they really despised him. They'd write terrible things about him, make up stuff, write crazy stuff about him. He was going to start a world war. Instead, he won the Cold War without firing a shot. Reminds me of Trump, right? Trump was going to take us to war, and he created the Abraham Accords, which is the greatest peace movement since Reagan. Now, if he becomes president again, he's going to be handed a world at war. He handed Jerko a world at peace. He handed him a world that was about as peaceful as it's been a very long time. And what is he handing him back? He's handing him back a world with 2 major wars, both of which have the possibility of igniting into something far larger. They're not just isolated. Afghanistan, for example, never really, it was a terribly long war, but it never really had the, nobody else was going to go back to Afghanistan. Russia wasn't going to go fight for Afghanistan. They tried to fight Afghanistan and lost. China doesn't give a damn about Afghanistan, and it was us against the terrorists. It wasn't going to ignite into anything bigger than that. The problem with it is it went on forever, and American people got tired of it. And it didn't seem to have a natural conclusion to it. But these are real wars, meaning in each case, the major world powers have a real involvement in it. The world powers that have the capacity to destroy the world. The United States, Red China, Russia, North Korea sort of on the side. Chubby doesn't really know what he's doing, but he wants his daddy back. I predict Trump becomes president, he becomes a little puppy dog again. And Trump will have him come to the White House, and he'll show him around, and he'll take a trip up to North Korea and walk around with him and take him out for walks, that kind of thing. But What people underestimate with Donald Trump is his ability to handle people. So they say, oh, he keeps saying that Putin is a friend. Like hell, Putin is a friend. The guy's a negotiator. Of course he's a friend, as long as he gets what he wants. So the president of the United States, or former president, told Ted and I a while back when we said to him, we know for sure that Ukraine could not have happened while you were president. I know that for sure. There isn't a doubt in the world, which leaves the horrible situation that the man that you watched tonight stumble his way through the State of the Union speech is singularly responsible for the death of all those Ukrainian and Russian people. If the American people hadn't made the terrible mistake of electing him, or whatever else happened, that war would never have taken place. Remember the movie It's a Wonderful Life? Like, if he wasn't alive, what would have happened? This is if he wasn't president and Trump had remained there is no doubt among any responsible person, love Trump, hate him, or don't care about him, that Putin would not have invaded Ukraine. Now you say, well, Rudy, how do you know that for sure? Here's how I know it. See if this doesn't do it for you. If it doesn't, go watch something else. Putin has invaded 4 times in 20 years. He's had, during that period of time, 4 presidents. He's invaded 3 times with 4 presidents. Bush invaded Georgia, took over a big chunk of southern Russia that was in dispute, and put Georgia under his fist. And Bush, who I love, but Bush did nothing. Then under Prince Obama, when he got the measure of the man, and there isn't much of a man there, but he got the measure of him, he invaded Ukraine and took most of what he now has in Ukraine. And the response of Prince Obama was to give money to Ukraine and no real arms. So that Poroshenko told me shortly after Obama was out of office that they supported him against Russia, but they only gave him slingshots to win the war with. Because we don't really know what Prince Obama's objective was in that war, like we don't know what Biden's is. And then again, of course, he invaded 2 years ago with the biggest sap, most cowardly American president that we can imagine, who gave away American lives one after another in Afghanistan, left Americans behind, double-crossed the Afghanis who helped us. When the 13 people that he got killed came back, he was standing there like a jackass looking at his watch. Putin was looking at all that. I mean, Putin's I'm sorry, get angry at me, call me a Russian agent. Biden once did that. That's what I'm suing him for. But Putin's a smart man. He watches that. He looks at that jackass and he says, this guy is more like Bush or Obama. I can step all over him. That other guy, unpredictable. So what does he do? He invades, takes over 25% of Ukraine. Probably wanted to take the whole thing. Credit to the Ukrainians that they stopped him. But he got the main thing that he wanted, which is the passageway from Russia to Crimea, right to the sea, right to his nuclear-powered submarines. Doesn't have to go through Ukraine. And he's like threatening Moldova, just right there. And if you take a good look at the map, which, for example, people like Governor Haley don't look at, which is why they don't know what provinces. She doesn't know what provinces she's fighting for in Ukraine. She just knows she's fighting for provinces in Ukraine. and wants us to just keep doing it without any plan. But would be nice if she like knew the name of Donetsk. I mean, it isn't that hard if you've been a UN ambassador. So he didn't invade under Trump because he was afraid to. Because that's what an American president is supposed to do. He's supposed to protect us from these things because the evil people in the world, and Putin fits that category, and Xi Jinping fits that category, and the Ayatollah doubles that category. They got to be afraid of him. Otherwise, we're sitting ducks. Well, that's what we are. We're sitting ducks. So the guy who made us sitting ducks is going to speak tonight, and I don't know what they're going to do with him to make him sound normal. I mean, they did it. Is this his third State of the Union speech, Ted?
That's right. This would be his. So did we not do one?
He did one the first year.
Did he in 20?
He did one. He did one in 21, 22,
23.
So maybe it's his fourth. I don't know. Maybe it's
fourth and final.
Yeah, this is his fourth State of the Union speech. I don't remember them all really, but I do remember.
Remember last year?
He doesn't really screw up during the State of the Union speech. It's the way he does. I'm going to play a few of these things.
We got some good ones.
But just recently. Well, why don't you play the one with
Poland?
Yeah, here, before you even tell you this, here are the facts. Go to Real Clear Politics. Look at it yourself. For the last 3 months, Trump has been tied or ahead of him in about 27 out of 30 polls. The only ones he's been behind were by 1 or 2 points, and they go back about 2 months. Now, this is him yesterday. This is the guy who's going to give the speech tonight, who they got to be giving all kinds of drugs to. So he doesn't.
Who are concerned about your poll numbers?
My poll numbers, the last 5 polls you guys don't report, I'm winning 5 in a row. You guys only look at the New York Times. They're a great paper.
Now, I want you to think about what he said, too, how stupid it is. He said the only place they look for polls, and the polls are very negative to him, are the New York Times and CNN. The New York Times and CNN are madly in love with him. I mean, they have some kind of unnatural love affair with him.
Or which is driven.
But I don't think that even can be described in all the crazy agendas we have and everything else we have. I don't think we can describe the attraction of the New York Times reporters and Joe Biden. It's some kind of a weird, perverted. Well, I don't know. Maybe they like stroking the hair on his legs, and he likes the way they do it. I don't know.
It really begins with their hatred of Trump. Hatred and disdain of Trump. I mean, Joe Biden wasn't always the media's favorite, but everything is so anti-Trump.
Even if you hate Trump, how
exactly.
Can you like this jackass?
But that shows how far the Trump derangement syndrome, how bad it's gotten.
And he's a creepy jack. But he's also creepy. He's got a granddaughter. He doesn't recognize her for 4 or 5 years.
Oh, that was sick.
His witch of a wife puts out stockings for Christmas and leaves out the little girl.
That's crazy.
Jill the witch.
Yeah, who does that?
Jill the witch.
That's insane. Like, how do you leave?
Jill, the head of the member of the Communist Teachers Union.
Yeah. By the way,
right in the family. Boy, oh boy.
The New York City.
Oh, Kamala. Yeah. Is she dating Kamala's husband?
Okay.
She slaps him around. I wonder if there's elder abuse going on in the Biden family.
Yeah.
Right? Like if he asks for too much ice cream, she says, "Shut up, Joe."
We can't. It's too bad we can't really get on him for the ice cream thing as much as we'd like to.
I know, because I love ice cream.
We're all big fans of ice cream here too.
I know,
but that would be because there's a lot there.
I check with my doctor if it's a sign of dementia. I'm getting really worried. But we'll be back very shortly, and we'll start talking about what we think he's going to talk about or mumble about tonight.
The new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
So this will hold you. Caitlin Sinclair is going to be with us in a little while, and she's checking on something, and they say they're holding up his motorcade. Maybe he hasn't paid his speeding tickets or something like that. They're going to get him for something. They'll get him for speeding tickets. Maybe he decided to drive.
That would be funny.
Man, that would be funny, wouldn't it? You know, who is crazier, him or Joe Scarborough?
Oh God.
Do you listen to Joe Scarborough?
What, Mayor? I used to watch you on Morning Joe.
Joe
I'd say about
Scarborough supported. I'm embarrassed.
12 years ago.
He supported me when I ran for president.
You were a regular on that table, Morning Joe, about
Yeah,
15 years ago.
I don't know what he says about me. I don't even listen.
Oh, I don't even live. That's a good point. I do it, but you
But
still.
here's a quote from Joe Scarborough.
Okay, let's hear it.
This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best ever. Not a close second. And I've known him for years. If it weren't the truth, I wouldn't say it. He got a bit of his mind.
Yeah.
This guy, I mean, he mumbles and he stumbles, and I ran across this thing on YouTube the other night, looking up my dogs, because I like to look at rescue dogs, and which is how you come across Biden. And the dogs are doing better. So let's see if I can
Make it full screen. Make it full screen.
hold it.
Yeah. I'm not going to.
You're having it? I see it. Oh, there he is. See?
Oh God.
Joe got lost on stage again, fell down, and started talking nonsense. Nothing new in 2 years, but as always, fun. Let's see what happened this week. My name is Mad Bird, and this is my show. Don't forget to subscribe, and let's go. I got it. Go.
Mayor, look over there.
Mad Bird Show.
How much are your monthly bills? And after they're all paid,
Now listen.
how much do you have left for necessities? It's enough. Is there enough left over just to give you a little bit of breathing room?
I mean, I don't
Back to you.
understand how they're going to get that guy ready. I do not understand how they're going to get that guy ready
You're taking
for
for
tonight. I really don't.
You're taking a drug cop
I do not understand how they're going to get him ready for tonight.
Is there enough left over?
I mean, how do you take that, which is
Excuse
what
me.
we see
It's
going
going
out to the
agree with the politician,
uh,
but my goodness,
going
how
out to
in
the
hell can
helicopter.
he say that with
or-
a straight face?
and he's going to give this speech. Got to be medicines of one kind or another. So let's get quickly to the substance. What's he going to try to do?
Look, and if I didn't say that, Bobby,
I don't think there's any possibility that he isn't going to attack Trump and try to blame everything on Trump. He's going to try to blame the border on Trump, and he's going to try to blame the border on the Republicans refusing to agree to his bipartisan deal.
When I was little,
Now,
I was
the
constantly
logic
told
of that
to treat
is
my diction because I spoke incomprehensibly. But I should have
Because
shown how the
that
president
field is
speaks.
3 months
After
old.
all, the president is
And
an
the
example
border
to follow,
numbers go back
isn't it?
3.5
But
years.
seriously, did someone understand what he said?
The last year that Trump was in office, there were 420,000 people illegally stopped and detained at the border, which is the number we begin to work with, because then you have to extrapolate. Similar number for Biden
We did it.
is 3.2 million.
The American
I want you to look at
dream
the order of magnitude, right?
is dead.
420,000 in 1 year, that's 2020. 3.2 million in 2024 or 2023.
You know,
sorry.
You think that making such
That's
videos
just
is
in-
easy. But
The year
when I
before
realized
that, it
that
was
this person
2.8
is running the country,
And the
I
year
feel
before that, it was
important
1.8
that in
million.
such a wonderful country,
The worst
there are so
Trump
many
ever
idiots who
had,
vote for such characters.
In his
Do
first
you
few
even
years.
realize that she
She's
really
right
makes
now.
decisions that directly affect your life?
That was his worst number.
Oh,
ever. In his first year in office, Biden had the worst number of any American president in history. Not worse than Trump. Not worse than Obama.
Every 2 months,
Not worse than
Biden
Bush.
consistently tries to
Worse than anyone.
somebody make a law
And
that
then,
prohibits stairs.
let's
By the
go
way,
on
do you
record.
wonder what the people
broke
who
his
choose
record
Biden
next year.
look like?
And he
Here
broke
he
his
is.
record
The
year
guy is
after.
really happy that Biden
So,
won't fall. For
the
them,
count
this is
now
already an argument.
is-
Vote for him again.
The people that we stopped and
So here's
very,
I think
very,
at this point a
in
well
a very cursory way,
I love Venn diagrams.
about 8 million people.
I love Venn
Illegal.
diagrams, and whenever I am,
There
with
are
kind of like
1.8
complicated, I
million
always wonder, is there a Venn diagram to
reported
figure this
gotaways.
out?
And we love that about you.
Right?
So now
What you
you're
just
at 9.8
is one of the most
million.
insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
And
Just
then
incompetent
there's a
and childish to
final
being government.
category,
Although I think
which
if you
is the most
forbid him
dangerous
to drink
category
vodka,
of all.
he will become normal.
and the one
Well,
that we have the least knowledge about. And that's the people
You're
that
right.
you don't see at all.
By the way, it's the only
there
existential
are people
threat to
that come in
humanity. We don't
illegally
do
and we
this. We
stop.
don't stay below these numbers.
Okay, that's the 3.2
We'll
million.
change it. Our kids
The
are going to
Trump
be, our
400.
grandkids are
See the
going to,
difference?
anyway.
Okay.
don't even think-
Then there are the people that we try to get into that group, but they get away.
Our
Well, we make a record of it.
change.
So we have a number
Kids
there.
are going to be.
And that number right now is 1.8 million. They call them gotaways.
Think about it.
Very fancy label, but that's the label. Now, there's a final one. There is no category for
Looks like stairs are the
But it
biggest
is.
threat to Biden.
the people
But
you never
seriously, he
see.
probably uses more fuel
So this is a
than
very
anybody
big
in the
border,
world.
right?
No.
And the more activity on that border, the more people are going to get through that aren't observed at all, because our resources are being overloaded. So that's anybody's guess as to how many of those people. It would be irrational if it wasn't at least a couple of million people. So we're somewhere around 12 million. That last group being, everyone would agree, the most dangerous, because particularly now that the border is managed by the cartels in almost a professional way, that's where they send in their worst people. That's where, when China wants to get spies in, that's where they would send their high value spies. So they never get caught at the border. Although the Chinese were very, very nice too. Catch this one and tell me this isn't the result of Biden being entirely, completely, and absolutely corrupt. The Chinese under Trump were among the most vetted group of people that came in. When Biden came in, he reduced the vetting of the Chinese right away, down to something like only 45 questions. The beginning of last year, without telling anybody, without the press ever reporting it until 8 months later, the Chinese were subjected to only 4 questions based on an order of the President of the United States. This is our biggest enemy that we know has the most active spying intelligence service in the world, wants to steal everything from us, including our country. And we asked them 4 questions because they were getting delayed coming in. Let's go back over that. They were getting delayed coming in illegally. So we expedited their illegal entry. Do you realize how insane that is? And do you realize that that could only be the product of the at least 30 million that the Red Chinese gave to his family? I mean, you'd have to be out of your mind to think it's a coincidence. What 4 questions could you possibly ask the Chinese? Are you Chinese? Yes. Are you a spy? No. Will you steal anything from the United States? No. Will you kill anyone? No. And then, do you have a recommendation of a good Chinese restaurant? I mean, what? Our country is being sold down the river by the guy you're going to watch tonight. I don't even know how anybody could stand up and clap for this guy if you love America. So he's going to somehow
Protesters.
try to convince people that the border problem is a result of Republicans not agreeing in Congress, when in fact, everything that Trump did to secure the border down to 400,000, he did without legislation and by executive order. And everything he did to undo that, he did by executive order without legislation. He could restore where we were under Trump by using something called a pen and just re-sign the 80 or so orders that he did away with. In fact, I'd give him 10 and it would do the job. 60 to 65% of the number is based on stay in Mexico. In other words, stay in Mexico immediately reduced the illegals by 60 to 65%. And the minute Biden reversed it and had them come in, it went up by 70%. So if he wanted to get like a quick, all he'd have to do is say, they're staying in Mexico. And all he has to do there is to change the nature of the Border Patrol to their actual mission, rather than being like escorts at Radio City Music Hall, helping you find your seat. They keep you out of Radio City Music Hall. They stand there with their guns and they don't let you in because you're not allowed to come into this country illegally, particularly if we don't know who you are. And also, given the fact that we have an illegal alien crime wave going on, there's every justification in the world for a responsible, decent president to do that. There's a second thing we have going on that's even worse than that. We now lead the world and have, since we've had this evil president, we lead the world in child abuse, child molestation, child trafficking. We're the #1 country in the world for child trafficking. And human trafficking, children and adults, is the most profitable business for the cartels, more profitable than drugs, which is very profitable, particularly the fentanyl part. But China sucks up a lot of that profit. And think about how wonderful this is for China. China gets to send in any spy that it wants without detection. China gets to steal any secret it wants without detection. China gets to make a fortune off fentanyl, which they can bring in at will. China gets to kill us like we were at war. 75,000 2 years ago, 120,000 this year. They don't have to fire a shot. All they have to do is let the fentanyl come in and Americans die left and right. And they don't. And this idea that they die of overdose, a lot of these deaths really should be considered poisonings because these people don't know what they're taking. You know, when we had overdose deaths, and the deaths are up like 600% over Trump or anybody else. Somebody took an excessive amount of drugs. To some degree, at least, they knew what they were doing. Now you can take a little pill that looks like a oxy cotton pill or just any old pill. It could have fentanyl in it and kill you. Or you could take what you think is a small amount of cocaine or a small amount of even marijuana, and it could have fentanyl in it, and you're dead. And I mean, that is very, very different than what we used to regard as overdose. This is more like death by trick. At least with regard to an overdose, you're talking about somebody who had gone pretty far down the road, and maybe there were indications that you could see it coming. Now you got kids that are just starting out with stupid amounts of drugs. Bam, they're dead. I'm thinking about one case that really is amazing. This black woman was a marijuana dealer for years. The kind of marijuana dealer that everybody wanted to make legal, you know, until Oregon now is changing. She just dealt with kids, small amounts, what they consider healthy amounts. There's no amount of marijuana that's healthy, by the way. That's the biggest bunch of, and the tests that are coming out now, all too late, are devastating about what it does to your brain. But in any event, this woman in one weekend lost 4 of her customers to small amounts of marijuana because whoever she bought it from, either maybe this was done to them by accident or the fentanyl was in the marijuana. Nobody knew it. Do people do it just maliciously? I imagine. Do they do it by accident? I imagine. I mean, we're not talking about, major quality control here in the way these things are done. Now, Biden is responsible for that. So when he talks about fentanyl tonight, please realize that the agreement that he theoretically just reached with China, since it went into effect, fentanyl overdoses have gone up by 22%. Since the agreement with China to help us. That's the kind of lies that you're getting. Let me make one last point. These people are so stupid on the big things and the little things. So they invited Mrs. Zelensky tonight to be with the stepmother. That's Jill. And Mrs. Zelensky isn't coming. Huh. And they also invited Yulia Navalnaya. Well, she's the wife of the man who was killed by Putin, who gave a brilliant speech a couple of days ago about this. Obviously an appropriate person to invite. And they had a wonderful idea. We're going to put them together. I mean, one's from Russia and the other's from Ukraine. Maybe a little something should have gone off in your head the minute you did that. Like if you had a brain in the White House somewhere. This must be the person who had the white powder in the closet of the White House who did this. Mrs. Navalny and her husband are anti-Ukraine and pro-Russian. That they are anti-Putin, they're anti-communism, but they are nationalistic Russians who believe that Ukraine belongs to Russia. And of course, this would not have been an exactly happy time for Mrs. Zelensky to be sitting with a woman who is from their point of view, in the right sense, a Russian patriot. Now, the reason it escapes them is because they live in their own little screwed up communist world. And as Gates said, Biden has never made a correct decision about foreign policy. And a combination of his left-wing leanings and his small brain and now dementia, it's one thing after another. So let's see how he gets by tonight. So we're going to take a short break, and the house is filling up, and we'll see. We'll see. We'll get ready. Ms. Sinclair? Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now.
We're back.
Welcome back, to America's Mayor Live, which may be America's Mayor on tape, because it looks like the President of the United States is in a traffic jam. Now, I've never heard of this before. Remember, I was mayor of New York for 8 years, 7 of which I overlapped with Bill Clinton and 1 with Bush, which means we had enormous numbers of cars here in traffic, and the president visited numerous times, and like the president doesn't get delayed. The people get moved.
We're 15 minutes, 10 minutes, almost 10 minutes out, Mayor, and Joe Biden has not left the White
Oh,
House.
here he goes. He's trying to walk.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
So departs the White House.
He's not even, the stepmother's not even paying attention to him.
He'll be, is this on?
Yeah.
Okay,
Stepmom's not even paying attention to him.
so protesters are blocking Pennsylvania Avenue right now. Are these uncommitted voters, these pro-Palestine?
They can't be January 6th people, because anybody who even thought about January 6th is in jail.
That's right.
Anybody who even if you had a thought that they pick it up through the FBI Wades.
They
and
put it out
and
like
get you with the
this, Mayor.
stormtroopers and put you in jail.
They said this is a disruption of an official proceeding. Thus, that is verbatim or literally an insurrection. So if these were January 6th protesters, they would already be in jail. But why aren't
They're trying to blame it on us, or
No, so it's interesting. They're
last
protesters, but they're actually calling Joe Biden out. They're saying Biden's legacy is genocide. There's a bunch of posters that have that saying on it. They're sitting in a circle, they're blocking the motorcade from getting through. But that's when right? When you have pro-Palestine protesters actually calling Joe Biden out for genocide. So again, he's in.
Well, on that one, he almost can't win.
Right.
He's against Israel, and I don't know why they're angry at him. He really is pro-Palestine.
They could be paid actors. This
He
could just
really
be.
He is pro-Palestine. He wants
Commotion.
a ceasefire.
hmm
He wants a 2-state solution. He wants the Palestinians to be involved in the government that comes after. I don't know what else he could be that wasn't I mean, Bibi and most other people who have a little common sense aren't.
hmm
But I mean, what's the use of setting up another terrorist state in the Middle East? But I don't understand what they're angry at him for. Oh, that he's letting Bibi do whatever the hell
They're
Bibi's
just
doing.
angry. A lot of these protesters are truly just angry, Mayor, and they don't actually know what they're protesting. And I don't even mean that in a disrespectful or disparaging way. I've covered some of these protests. I've talked to the protesters, and a lot of them are young. They're young college
Are they being
students.
paid? A lot of people think they're being.
These folks could be paid actors. I wouldn't be surprised. But these students you ask them what they're here, right? I'll put the mic in their face. What are you here for? What do you stand for? What are you protesting? What are you so angry about? And they truly don't even know the cause that they're
Right.
so aggressively fighting for, we could say. Okay, so Dr. Jill in the car.
Well, they're now moving, so they must have gotten them out of the way.
Yeah, so we
No, they're just moving.
Oh, they're just going around like
it's
in circles?
about
I have a feeling
I'd
that
say 12-minute-ish.
yeah,
drive.
it's a quick route.
Maybe they'll take them directly to
Oh,
Delaware.
they already have the ambulance ready. It's following.
Oh, that's
Well,
good.
they might have a second.
That's good.
So let's see if we have any live coverage here. They might have a second route that they'll take.
You think? Because don't those routes have
Security, you're right.
Yeah, they'll do that in advance. I'm sure they
Yeah.
And what about that? What about that wall they built, right? So the wall doesn't work according to Democrats, but
Right.
they'll build this nice wall around the Capitol for Joe Biden because they want to protect from citizens. I mean, who are they?
Yeah.
What a slap in the face there, but they don't want to protect the citizens from actual danger, right?
So we're watching closely. The president has the motorcade left the White House grounds.
Okay,
And
he's not driving, huh?
The Capitol right now.
so really, they're probably coming up to Constitution or Independent. What's the one
my
that's?
God, there's Nancy
Oh,
Pelosi.
this Chuck.
Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer.
I thought she retired.
Yeah. What about this, Mayor? So we have Chuck Schumer. Do you know who his guest is tonight? His guest tonight is a soldier from Ukraine that I believe had one of his limbs hurt, one of his limbs tragically lost. But what about all of the American soldiers that are injured right now? What about all of
Anybody mention any of the
Well,
hostages?
they're not
the
making them
American
any-
hostages.
Well, they're not making them
No
anybody.
one's mentioning any of the American hostages. Well, you see, Americans don't count.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
We don't count. I mean, also one might think he might have an Israeli,
it would
like
be-
maybe one of the Israeli families whose
They don't
children were raped
think like that. They don't.
by the Palestinians.
The fact that Chuck Schumer could not find, I mean, how hard would that have been to find one veteran, one American
How
soldier?
about one American, one who does he have?
He has a Ukrainian
and,
soldier.
and one Israeli.
Kamala Harris already giggling about something.
Well, yeah, she's gonna laugh through. She's already giggling. Look,
I think she takes shots before every appearance.
she was like, you know what I think happens to her? I think strange little things come into her head, and then she just starts laughing. Yeah.
I think there's somebody on the toilet bowl or something like
Right now, it looks like she's having a very funny moment.
that. What am I doing here?
She's thinking about.
We're wondering the same thing. America's wondering the same thing.
I'm woefully unqualified for the.
Yeah.
Now that must be a terribly intellectual conversation and very pointed between McConnell and Pelosi. And McConnell doesn't have a brain left, and Pelosi doesn't have a
Yeah. Speaking of Pelosi,
natural human part on the face.
I wonder if tonight Speaker Johnson is remembering what happened during one of Donald Trump's speeches at the State of the
When
Union.
she tore up the face.
When she was tearing up, I wonder if Speaker Johnson will have that in mind tonight.
So folks, we're watching. We have a TV. You can't see it on screen. We're following closely. Joe Biden has left the White House. He's in the motorcade. It's a short distance from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue
Honestly, by the time he left,
to the Capitol.
he should be there by now.
Yeah, it's a
We
real
all know-
quick trip.
We all know this route pretty damn well, right?
It took him a while to get to
He's not there.
You could, I mean, you're pretty close to being about halfway there walking it
Yeah.
at this point, right?
Yeah, and then, look, I can't imagine these same Americans who are out in the street demonstrating, in support of Hamas. I can't imagine they're that smart.
There you go.
So I could see these protesters
age,
being in the completely wrong position, right? I can't.
Well, they know he's coming, so now
They're clear of it.
that's the Senate leadership.
Pretty packed house.
The Senate leadership is
So they're sitting. They're now.
no, Schumer's getting himself lined up
Nope.
so that he can push everybody out of the way.
So folks can't see what you.
Push McConnell. It wouldn't be fair.
McConnell looks lost. Do you think McConnell even knows
Got
who he is?
Thune behind him, which is a good. Thune should. If I were Thune, I'd stay far away from him if I wanted to get a vote. Oh, they're all going out now to greet their old pal.
The mayor's describing is what's happening inside the chamber. What you see on screen here is what's happening outside the U.S. Capitol.
With my bad knee, there's no way I'm standing waiting for that jackass to get through the traffic. I'm sitting
Could
down.
be a while. Could
I'm
be a
sitting
while.
down reading the New Epic Times or something.
Well, what we have on screen is
Oh yeah, you got
some
you got two weirdos there, Manchin and
I
Romney.
can't see that. Yeah. So what the mayor is now describing what's being shown on television. You have they're just showing kind of panning the
There's
crowd,
communist section,
right? The House and the
communist
Senate
section. We got a
for
little-
the State of the Union. Both the House and the Senate
I don't know if
joined
this guy-
together.
There's a guy speaking now.
Oh wow.
And I don't know if he's
So that's what we're showing on our.
Okay, see, there's
That's what we've been showing on our screen.
yeah,
We don't.
that's one of the signs that I mentioned
now. He
before.
looks like a protester.
Biden's legacy is genocide. So there must be some sort of speech. Yeah, her shirt also says legacy equals genocide. Going out on a limb here, going to assume she's talking about the war.
Somehow Brett Baer found it funny. He was laughing. And Brett Baer doesn't laugh a lot. He laughed
Here's a
about 7 or
serious
8 years ago. He laughed twice. It was the last time. I think he laughed 2 times 7 years ago.
Viewers, Brett Baer aging rapidly, so much older in such a short period of time.
Doesn't
I think we all do with Joe Biden as president.
Yeah.
I have some wrinkles.
No, I mean, if you got to laugh in order to stay young.
That's right. So happening outside, Joe.
Where's your
still
friend,
hasn't
Rob?
Arrived.
Remember your friend?
Which one?
What's his name with the big thing and the?
Oh, the machineman.
Yeah, he gave a better speech than Biden,
Yeah.
and he got them all down praying at the end.
Well, hopefully.
But he went to the Senate. He was in the Senate, wasn't he? Was he in the Senate or that? He went to the Senate.
Yeah, he went to the Senate side. So outside, we still see some activity.
Like the president, they held the door for him.
You don't know where the motorcade is. He's late. It's now 9:00. Yes, I remember.
Held the door open. The cops held the door open for him.
So we can point out the members that are wearing the Lake and Riley pins.
Who are the
We've
white
seen-
people? What people with all the
we've
white jackets
seen-
on?
What's that?
What's that?
That looks like the communist clique.
It looked to me like some of the.
Here he comes. So did he take a different route? Is my question.
He must have,
'Cause
because
these
there was no
protesters-
way you were getting through those protesters sitting down in the middle of Pennsylvania
It seems
Avenue.
that he made it. They may have taken a different route. We won't know.
They might have stopped to get ice cream on the way.
You know, it is a little ridiculous to have 722 cars go from the White House to the Capitol.
Oh yeah, it's part of the show.
I
though.
mean, it has to take forever.
There he comes. That's behind.
I mean, 6 or 7 cars really would do it.
So they must have 5 or 6 routes they can take. Makes sense. That does make sense, right?
I guess that has to make sense.
So that's the back of the Capitol. We know that area well. Well, is that actually technically the front? It's what
Let's
most of us think of as the back, but it really
Well, might be the front.
It is
East-
one of the main
east- the
entrances.
east-facing side of the Capitol, right? The back where in that.
Right.
So what you're looking, or well, they're not looking at this.
Well, it used to be, I mean, Reagan sort of turned around the Capitol. It
Yeah.
used to be that the inaugurations took place on the eastern end of the Capitol.
I think this is considered the back.
And then Reagan in 1980 changed it to have it face west. So that used to be considered the back of the Capitol,
Okay.
the one facing the White House. So it's hard to say what's the front and what's the back.
Car drive right over that.
This is the eastern side.
Mhm.
This would technically be
That's
the
not- yeah.
official entrance to the White
What-
House,
and what-
to the Capitol.
To remind you, the folks watching us here aren't seeing that, but what the mayor is describing the outside of the U.S. Capitol and how Reagan had switched which side of the building.
Reagan, having come from the West Coast, first president in a long time from the West Coast, decided to switch the place
ceremony.
and also he was going to get a much bigger crowd. You can get
Get
it
the
much bigger.
wall.
Think about it. You think of the eastern side, which
Right.
is locked in by the Supreme Court and the Library of Congress, and the other is just wide open right out into the mall.
all the way to Lincoln Memorial.
Yeah.
And of course, they're now showing, and you see the folks can see this on the
there's
screen
the
now.
Supreme Court, minus Alito, who doesn't come,
He never does.
never does, thinks it's inappropriate.
We have other.
Ask him.
We have
I like him
representatives.
a lot, but I don't know.
We have some representatives that said they weren't coming tonight because they don't believe that this speech is equal to what the State of the Union should stand for,
Huh.
which I find interesting.
Hopefully he gets tackled.
No,
Joe Wilson. Joe Wilson.
They won't heckle him.
Do they?
I hope one member of Congress at least.
I would throw him off quite a
I
bit.
hope they find Laken Riley's name. I hope someone just shouts that out when he's lying to us about immigration and lying about the border being
It's
closed.
amazing that Trump challenged him to use the name and he's never done it. He won't use Laken Riley.
He refuses.
Of
to
all
give
the
her name.
people invited, one would think that her mother would be invited.
So
They were invited. They were invited.
Oh, or they decided not to come.
If I were the parent of
Oh, come on, yeah.
I would.
yeah,
would-
who can't imagine they're in a.
Why would you want to
Mind.
entertain such
It's
clowns
like the parents
that
of the
clearly don't care?
That's actually a good
parents
point.
of the people who died in
Yeah.
Afghanistan. They
Yeah.
despise them.
Teen soldiers.
You know, when he
Your
was
name.
Corey Mills invited them. Oh gosh,
That's the one who doesn't know the difference between a man and a woman, right?
that's Sheila Jackson Lee.
Well, maybe
That's Ketanji Brown Jackson.
maybe she's explaining it to her. No, it could be. That
Looks
could,
like a moment there.
So there's a U.S. Capitol, a nice
it
evening.
looks more crowded than January 6th, more chaotic than January 6th. You think these people are, you think this is an insurrection?
Like I said, by definition, Mayor, the disruption of an official proceeding, which those protesters, that by definition is almost verbatim of an insurrection. So they should be in the gulags with the January 6th protesters that are still locked up there.
Nice. We can use a Newsmax. We can use our Newsmax feed. So we.
Claudia Tenney, see, she had that red pen.
Yeah.
Laken Riley, say her name.
So I want to match up what we're seeing with what, so folks can see what we're seeing. So we're gonna go to Newsmax.
It is 9:02.
Yes.
Can we recommend that people
This-
watch it on Newsmax?
Yeah, turn it on Newsmax, but they're seeing a little bit behind. But I now.
Why is Newsmax? Why is?
Online? We're online. This is on
Oh,
YouTube.
I see.
Yeah.
You mean the feed is a little
It's a
behind.
little bit behind, yeah.
George Santos.
George is still there.
This is his first time returning to the Capitol.
As a former member, you
Yes.
still have privileges to the
He
floor.
still have privileges, so no one invited him. He still has.
He
those-
didn't show up,
uh,
but he was thrown out. So even then, you get to show up. That's
he
awesome.
still has those privileges, and
Well,
when asked why he chose to attend, he said, "Why not?
I got good access right there. He is.
Got a
There's-
suit, and why not?"
So if you want to remember, this is about 20 seconds behind. They're just showing George now. There's Rubio. There's some senators. So yeah, we'll sign off for a little
I
bit.
didn't invite Trump.
Well, Trump will be truth socialing.
No,
He
but
said.
it's fun if they invited him.
Yeah, why didn't a member invite? Maybe they did, and he just.
He might have gone.
I could see
That would've been fun.
Marjorie Taylor Greene extending that invite. or-
Somebody
or
invited him.
someone
You would think.
most
Maybe
definitely
not.
invited
You
him.
would think so. That you're right though. That would be my first. And then I would have invited the mayor. If I ever run for Congress,
Because Lindsey
you gotta
Graham
come. You gotta be my first.
reminding Susan Collins she's a Republican. She's forgot. You're a
Being a
Republican.
nerd, right? We recognize all these people.
And I think our friend Sid Rosenberg's in the crowd tonight.
Nice.
Invited by Biden?
We wish.
No, who invited Sid?
I believe Congressman.
One of the New York ones. Right?
Or
Yeah, one of the New York.
Mike,
delegation.
yeah.
Like, there's a number of them. I saw that on Instagram.
So he's up in the balcony somewhere?
Maybe he's getting honored.
must be.
Maybe he's getting honored. The number there is there's so remember they're off a little bit, so I don't actually want to talk too much about what you're seeing. On the
Yeah, they'll
screen.
see it.
But maybe we sign off.
Well, we'll sign off and let them watch all the suck-ups.
Yeah,
The,
and we should go.
the ones who go to the like the aisle, the president's coming down, so they can get their stupid little faces on television.
That's right.
Those are the people that if they are your representatives, don't vote for them.
Those are the teacher's pet. if
Yeah,
we
those
use
are
that
like the
analogy. Yeah.
suck-ups who need to get on television because they don't do anything else.
This
They
is
don't
their
pass bills. They don't go to hearings. They probably don't even read.
How long will? So comment below. Let us know how.
So
long
we're going to sign off, and then at the end we're going to come back.
We have to mention our poll though.
Yeah, I want
Oh.
to.
Comment how
Yes.
you believe tonight's speech will be. We're having a little contest here.
I still have time for Rob.
You got mine there?
No,
The only one I'm missing is Curtis and Krisha.
Yeah, I got Chris. Curtis, we didn't see.
So Rob,
I'm gonna put the numbers.
here are the numbers that we have for tonight's speech.
Yeah, I had said 50 minutes.
You have, so here, I'm 55.
Yeah,
You want 50?
yeah, that's what I said. I responded to Ted.
Mayor, we have to factor in that halftime show we were talking about. They might have these leftist elites come, perform, distract.
Uh,
And Amy, we got Amy on there. Amy, what did you say? Oh, you said you said it
what do
wasn't
you
gonna
say,
make it.
Amy? You want to give us a number?
Amy thought
You still want to stay with
it
0?
would be too delayed, and
You s-
that was
all right.
0?
Yeah, so
Uh-uh.
well, she did.
Well,
say,
you might lose right away.
Yeah.
Did you get a number from Krisha or not?
Yeah, Krisha said an hour.
1 hour.
We changed it. We're allowing people to have the same time.
So I got to give it the same as you. You're 60 minutes.
And Caitlin is also 60
I-
minutes.
Anybody want to change?
Caitlin, do you want to change?
I still feel it has to be 60 minutes. This is
Yeah,
the
but-
largest audience he'll have.
61
you
or
could go to
59?
I have you at 59 actually.
I put her at
What?
59, but that's she told me about it.
What do you want to be?
Say 57.
57. Okay. Last minute changes are allowed.
All right, you can't go over them.
57.
All right, Amy, you sure you want to go with 0? No, you don't get a
15?
range. You don't-
No
range.
ranges.
Give 15 minutes.
All right, 15 minutes. Okay.
You think he's gonna faint?
Yeah.
I'm with that.
No.
On a serious note, how sad is it? It's almost like Republicans have such low standards because we're all watching this and we put out these standards. So if Mayor, if he doesn't fall walking up the steps, if he doesn't have complete horrendous gaffes, if he doesn't talk or address dead people,
Yeah.
then this speech will be considered a success. How sad is
Andrew at 72 minutes.
He's got the
It's
longest.
ambitious.
Well,
That could be a long time.
he thinks he can get him. They can get him up there for that. He did say he thought they'd be able to get him. Whatever he needed to.
They're
to go
pumping
that
him with
long.
something.
I don't see it. I mean, I guess I see. You're right. They can do it.
Is it balanced?
They
in
have
nature?
to do it. Oh, it's time for balance of nature. That's
Don't
right.
forget, if you want
Thank you, Caitlin.
if you want to stay alive,
I get permission.
Yeah,
you
we
got to
give her
take
permission on this
balance
one.
of nature. Take the fruits, take the vegetables, and it'll keep you going while Dum Dum speaks. And who knows?
He needs to bulk
Oh,
order. that.
wow. There's the anti-American crew wearing their Arafat outfits. Those things they
So balance of nature. Use that promo code Rudy. Get your balance of
There's the
nature
group.
kudos.
There's the pro-Hamas group.
We're gonna do a quick balance of nature plug while we got Caitlin here with us.
Always. They wake up angry.
You have to look at that.
These folks.
I think I saw a couple of the military people that are in favor of mutilation of the human body. Nadler's asleep, definitely asleep. Actually,
Tweeting.
What's he scrolling? He moved. Nadler moved a finger.
That's our Congress. That's a congressman for here.
Moved a finger.
That's Jerry Nadler. That's right here. Midterm, Central
Yeah, yeah.
South, baby.
Jerry Nadler, may I introduce to you Ozempic?
Yeah, Ozempic.
We gotta run Caitlin for that district. Who are you gonna vote for, Caitlin or Nadler?
Yes. Ted thinks his dress is very presidential. Or
Oh, it is. I'm gonna
We'll
we'll
see.
show the dress. Yeah, it's a very nice dress. Well, you're not allowed to compliment.
Pelosi's
He's wrong,
trying
right?
very hard not to move her face too much because things will fall off.
it's fine. Kamala's doing enough of that.
All right, we're gonna sign off here in a second.
Okay, so it sounds like he arrived.
He's there, and so
Do we have like a trans guest also
Yeah.
to represent the trans community?
you'll want to tune in. We have our times listed below our guesses. Caitlin switched her, so I gotta let the record show. I gotta
already
reflect the
10
record.
minutes late.
He's late. He's gonna blame the protesters if he has to blame somebody.
The union speeches generally don't start
There's
late.
Mr. Doug.
You said-
First guy for what are we second?
Oh.
What are
We
we?
said 57. We switched you to 57.
Is he the one that's he's married? He's married to Kamala.
Yeah,
To
Kamala.
right.
What are we calling Mr. Doug
Yeah,
again?
I can get.
Second gentleman. Second gentleman.
Can you imagine being married to her
No.
all day?
So let us know, comment below. We just got a minute left here. How long will tonight's speech be? I'm saying it's going to be 60 minutes.
There's Matt.
The mayor said 55. Caitlin 57. Rob is saying
Oh, there's the step. There's the stepmother in chief.
Doctor.
And Amy, who you haven't met yet, but is a friend of the show, she says
Oh.
15 minutes.
No,
So
Amy originally said 0. Amy
did say
had
0.
a very
Yeah.
interesting thought that the protesters were
They're all clapping.
hired and would
Yeah.
prevent Mr. Biden from actually.
I
getting
still think they were
Capitol.
an emergency plan. If at any point they're like, he's not going to be able to do this.
Exactly.
I will continue to investigate that.
Yeah. Okay.
We sign off. Could I just ask one question? What does Jill do?
A lot, actually, if you think about it. Think about what he doesn't do.
She feeds.
Yeah. Yeah. Wakes him up, reminds him of who he is.
Well, he's gonna start walking.
He should be fired.
Here comes Stinking Blinken, they're putting cash in his pocket. Okay,
Well,
we'll be back after whatever. Okay.
yeah. We'll see you in 60 minutes.
You did.
So tune in with us and we'll see you on the other side. And we'll watch together.
God, you have to actually clap for them. Is to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able